Music and life to the full.
xRhythms.
Hi, I'm Shez, and today I spoke to Joanne from Tearfund about the work that they're doing to help large companies like Coca Cola, PepsiCo, Nestle and Unilever to reduce their single-use plastic. We also talked a bit about the impact that has on the environment and on people in developing countries like Pakistan. Stay tuned to find out how you can help them put pressure on those larger companies and make a difference in your world. Hi Joanne, really nice to speak to you today. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit and give some a little bit of extra context about yourself and the work that you do?
Yeah, so my name is Joanne. I work for Tearfund, which is a Christian relief and development agency. We're based in the UK, but we work in 50 countries around the world. And I'm a senior policy advisor on plastics and waste. So what we try to do is we try to influence the actions of the powerful. And in the case of my work, that is large companies and the sort of what they're doing in developing countries and how they can actually have a positive impact in the developing countries and on people in poverty, rather than a negative impact. So I particularly focus on big multinational companies that sell a lot of single-use plastics in poorer countries. And because in those countries there's no system of waste collection, there's very little waste management, it means that people have no choice but to dump or to burn that single-use plastic. And that creates multiple health problems as well as environmental problems.
So that's a much larger problem for people who live in poverty because they don't have the ability to recycle. So any amount of plastic is bad, really.
Exactly. And even if you think in this country, I mean, we cannot deal with the amount of plastic that is now being sold. You know, we are exporting over half of our single-use plastic. So even as the UK, you know, as a relatively developed country, cannot deal because there's just too much. So we really believe recycling is not the answer. And we believe we've got to reduce and move away from single-use plastics. And this is even more the case in poorer countries because people don't have a choice in the way that they can deal with it. Yes, we can put it in the bin. It might be sent overseas, but we get it away from us. Only to cause problems elsewhere. Whereas for people in poor countries, often it will be burnt, which releases a lot of toxic chemicals. In Pakistan, where Tearfund works, a lady there who we featured in a recent campaign of ours called Rabina. She has a disabled son. She lives in a sort of informal settlement in Islamabad, and her son often has breathing difficulties when rubbish is burnt near their home.
Wow. And
they have to go to the hospital, they have to pay the cost, and obviously she's really concerned about his health. And you know, this is we believe this is not responsible behaviour from huge companies like Coca Cola, Unilever, Nestle, PepsiCo. It's not responsible to be selling these products in places where they will be burnt or they might be dumped and end up in waterways, go out to the ocean.
Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of the environmental impacts as well, but we're particularly wanting to highlight the impacts on people in poverty.
I'm speaking from the perspective of a novice, as somebody who is uninitiated. I've never appreciated the huge impact that it has on people in those situations and how different that is from what we experience. And really, because of the lack of awareness, particularly from people like me, that means that there is very little pressure on these big companies to really make any changes that are going to impact those situations. Hopefully we can highlight that a little bit today and maybe get the word out a little bit more. So what is it that you as Tearfund, you talked a little bit about, you know, putting pressure on decision makers. What does that look like and what kind of impact does that actually have?
So what that looks like is that we've got a big campaign at the moment called the Rubbish Campaign. And we are asking people to sign a petition, which is being sent to those companies that I mentioned. Those people have probably heard of PepsiCo and Coca Cola, and probably Nestle. They make a lot of cereals, don't they, and chocolate bars. Unilever, people might not be so familiar with. They make Marmite, Dove. They also do some shower gels as well.
They're one of the biggest companies in Europe, aren't they? They just kind of own a load of other companies, but you don't really realise that they're the ones behind the scenes.
they're a huge company, and a lot of these companies are also big in developing countries as well and selling products there. So, the Rubbish Campaign is calling on those 4 companies to reduce by half the single-use plastics that they're selling in poorer countries by 2025. And we're also asking them to collect the remainder. So for every single-use plastic item that they sell, they collect one.
Okay.
So they are taking responsibility for their rubbish, but they're also moving away from single-use plastic as a business model as well, because we just don't think it's sustainable in the longer term. So that's what we're calling on them to do at the moment, and we're having meetings with them. But as you point out recently, there's this report that's come out from Breakthrough from Plastic, which is Coca Cola as the world's top plastic polluter.
Yeah, by quite a significant margin as well, looking at the report figures.
Yeah, absolutely. By a long way, they are the biggest. And that's based on waste audits that have been done across the world. So ordinary people just collecting rubbish in their community, in richer countries and in poorer countries, and then sort of allocating those to the different companies according to what they found, and Coca-Cola has come out on top. So we really want to shine a light particularly on Coca-Cola at the moment, because they are the top polluter, but also they are showing little sign of moving away from single-use plastic. There's a lot of advertising that Coca-Cola are pushing out at the moment around recycling being the answer. And we really don't believe recycling is the answer. It's a part of the answer, but we really think that reduction and moving away from single-use plastics is also a big part of the answer. And Coca-Cola aren't signalling yet that they are going to do that. And that's why we want to put extra pressure on them at the moment. And we're asking the Tearfund supporters and members of the public to send a message in a bottle to Coca-Cola, to find a discarded Coca-Cola bottle and write a message in them and ask them to move away from single-use plastic in poorer countries.
So is there any other way that I, as a kind of a passive participant, is there any way that I can be more active and really help to have an impact on this issue?
We are already seeing movement from Unilever. They made a significant announcement recently to reduce their use of new plastic by half by 2025.
Fantastic.
And to collect at least as much as they sell in developing countries where they have not made any commitments on collection. And I believe that is down in part to people raising their voice, signing the petition. We've had 34,000 people already sign the petition.
Wow.
We'd love to put that higher. So I really believe that, campaigning, that signing petitions, it might not seem like a big thing, but it does make a difference. But the other thing you can do is also to reduce your use of single-use plastic yourself. We're asking people, as well as signing the petition, to take a plastic pledge, which is to give up a single-use plastic item for 40 days. And maybe you could give it up permanently. So that could be a single-use coffee cup or teacup that you buy every day and get a small one instead. Or that could be committing to not buy plastic bottles of soft drinks or water anymore. Or it could be committing to stop using wet wipes. So there's again lots of different options on Tearfund's website, giving you ideas of things you can do and substitutes that are better for the environment.
Okay, fantastic. And as well, that obviously if you go to the website, that can help you figure out exactly which items you're looking out for that are having the most damaging impact, and then you can try and steer away from some of those. So fantastic. Joanne, I really appreciate your time today and you coming out to talk to us about this and really give us some more information. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No problem at all.